Hello, and welcome to Pressing Buttons, episode 24. I'm Hugo,
I'm Nick.
and it's great to have you guys joining us on another episode 24. Big things, big things are happening. Actually, they're not, just regular things are happening. But another episode, another week down. Don't forget, next week's episode 25, we are doing a little segment on our video game achievements. So, any of our listeners out there that want to be part of this, please send us your email or put it up on the Discord, which you can find the link at pressingbuttons.gg. So you can give us your gaming accomplishments. We're going to put them out in the air. Well, not in the air. We're going to put them out on the podcast for episode 25. Please join us. Nice little community event. I'm excited to share with you guys what I believe are my great video game achievements, and I want to see what you guys got in store for me. And what about you, Nick? You excited?
Are you planning on doing like all of them or top 5, top 10? Is there any particular format?
I don't know yet. I might just do like, because it's not that many. It's just
Yeah,
stuff
I guess that's
that
fair. Yeah.
So I think maybe like 4 to 6, maybe. We'll see.
Okay.
I also had to kind of do my research, and I know there's video evidence of some stuff. So like on my gaming YouTube for Platanero, I have one I did for Guacamele, which I was very proud of. So, yep.
Cool. Yeah.
Sure
the only video evidence I'm aware of is this you falling down pits.
Yeah.
In a variety of different games. Yeah.
I don't know why that keeps happening to me, where I just fall down pits for no reason, like just turn around, fall to my death for no reason. But, it wouldn't be a Hugo stream without it. Let's start the show with our weekly news segment. First thing we wanted to talk about was the Square Enix Final Fantasy VII 25th Anniversary Showcase. Square Enix set up a showcase for, obviously, Final Fantasy VII, which is one of their most beloved in the franchise of Final Fantasy. A lot of big fans. It might not be the best Final Fantasy to some people, but it's just so influential that 25 years they're celebrating it. I don't think they do that for a lot of their franchises, so pretty cool. It was a short showcase. Nick and I had talked about this before, saying like what we thought was going to be shown, even though it's going to be a short 10 to 15 minute showcase. But I think the amount of stuff that they showed was massive. The main one being that they announced Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is the second part of a planned trilogy for Final Fantasy VII that started off with the remake. That kind of blew everybody away, especially just because nobody was expecting this big of an announcement. And they also announced the release date, that it would be winter of next year. And that it's, like I said, the second part of a trilogy. So we got one more to go after this one. Hopefully, I think it's going to be titled Final Fantasy VII Reborn. So, with the Rees. And then they also announced that the 7 Remake Intergrade is going to be available on Steam, even though it was already available on the Epic Game Store. A lot of people have been wanting it on Steam, especially since Epic Game Store is kind of still rolling out a lot of features, isn't as well suited as the Steam one. And then they announced also Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, which, if you're not familiar with, is basically a remake of Final Fantasy VII game that they had out for PSP, starring Zack, which was one of the characters from Final Fantasy, just kind of telling his story. That's going to be out winter of this year. So they also announced like a couple mobile games. I don't remember exactly what those were because my mind kind of tuned out on those.
No, it's one mobile game. It's basically like one mobile game that encompasses all the different Final Fantasy VII, games, but into one like mobile game.
Another way to play Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I think a lot of people it was like maybe a bit polarizing when Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced, because it looks very different from Final Fantasy VII, and the battle system's very different, and then the story kind of takes on a life of its own. I think a lot of people wanted like no, like let's keep Final Fantasy VII, but just like upgrade that a little bit in terms of like static backgrounds and chibi characters running around, and it's like, so I think they're basically delivering that flavor of remake with this mobile game, but they're also expanding it to capture like all the prequels and Advent Children and like all the other kind of adjacent Final Fantasy VII stories. So it's merging all that into one game.
Yeah, definitely an interesting showcase, especially, like I said, just showing off everything Final Fantasy VII related. Big news, especially considering that within the time span of a year, starting in winter 2022, you're going to have Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Then in the summer, you're going to have Final Fantasy 16 released. And then winter of 2023 is when Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to be released. So Square Enix definitely came out swinging, and I think it's a lot of the fans were happy just because it's a lot of solid information. We knew already that Final Fantasy 16 was going to be released summer next year, but just putting a timetable on these other two titles is amazing, and I think it'll be a good year, especially for Square Enix. Mind you, they still haven't really announced anything Dragon Quest related, which probably for TGS or something like that, Tokyo Game Show, they'll probably announce something more there, and obviously we'll get more news on this. But I think, honestly, I was excited for the announcement. Like I discussed on the podcast, I've been playing Remake, and I've enjoyed it so far. The combat system, the characters, the way the story's being approached, where it's different than the original and how they've taken it. And I'm excited to see what part 2 is going to entail, and just how they change it. So I'm pretty sure the internet went crazy when they saw all of this, and I was watching the comments, and they did kind of go crazy. And Zack is back, which is one of those characters that was beloved by a lot of people. And if you know his story and what happens to him and all that, it's kind of tragic. But with the way the remake is going, it could be different.
Yeah. I think this was I liked just how to the point the showcase was. I think it was like 10 minutes, and it was just like rapid fire, cool announcements. I think the only thing, there was people, they like showcased some like new merchandise that was coming out, and some people were like, no, stop wasting time on merchandise, just talk about the games. But other than that, I thought it was just like a really well put together showcase. I think Rebirth is probably my most anticipated game for everything. Like, I think previously it was Elden Ring, and then before that I think it was Cyberpunk, and then with all this like Summer Game Fest or not E3 as what everyone's been calling it, I was like, oh, am I going to learn something about a game that's going to make it be my most anticipated title? And we knew Rebirth was going to come out at some point, but it was good to actually see it. It looks great. So yeah, I'd put that high up there. And then, yeah, it was good to finally see the remake. I guess part 1 finally come out on Steam. I actually need to check what the performance situation looks like. So I was one of the suckers that bought it on Epic Game Store because I'm impatient, but there was like some serious performance issues that I was having. So I don't know if the Steam version is going to correct that at all, or what the situation is. So I need to take a look at that, and hopefully it gets fixed, because I really want to play Intergrade. I still haven't played that, I guess, like that DLC featuring Yuffie. So I definitely want to play that. And yeah, I'm trying to think. Oh, and then just one other kind of thought on Crisis Core. So I never played that, and in the last couple of episodes of our show, I've been talking about playing like PSP and PS Vita games, and this was definitely on the list of like games that were specific on PSP that I'd never played that I might actually check out. But there'd been rumors of them doing some sort of remaster of this game, so I'm glad I waited. I only had to wait a couple weeks, but it was confirmed that this game is going to be coming out and coming out soon. So I think I'll have to check that out. And and for me, like I'm not as familiar with Zach as like a character, so I think it's almost going to need to be like a required game to play leading into Rebirth, just so you can like actually understand everything that's going on. So yeah, that's my hot take on the Final Fantasy VII showcase.
Yeah, I'm a bit more familiar myself with Zach, just because I did play a little bit of it on the PSP and kind of got the story of that. So, but I am excited to play this remaster. It looks good. The combat looks good. The graphics look good. Obviously, it's Final Fantasy. Obviously, they're going to knock it out of the park when it comes to graphical fidelity. So I'm excited to play it when it comes out. Definitely, I think it's going to be a pickup for me in the winter time. So excited for that. But yeah, good job on Square Enix. I think those 10 minutes of just showcase of the games that are coming out. Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary showcase. I think it was great, and I think all fans were satisfied, except for Xbox fans who aren't getting Rebirth.
Yeah, you could see like the port begging happening, like because I watched the live stream and everyone's like Xbox, and it's all over like Twitter too. People like wishing for this game to appear on Xbox. So. Not yet.
It's funny that Crisis Core Reunion is getting released on like every console, but Rebirth is just like PS5 only. So sucks to be an Xbox owner, but hopefully down the line, they'll get it on PC, just like Remake is now available on PC.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on, we're going to talk about the Capcom showcase. The main thing on that, they showed off Resident Evil Village Gold Edition that showed off new third-person game mode, which looked pretty cool, going back to Resident Evil 4 style gameplay. They also showed some DLC involving Ethan's daughter, which just a little bit older in the game. She's a teenager.
Rose, I think
that's
her name. Yeah.
She's a teenager in the game, and then they also showed off like a horde mode type thing. Horde mode game mode that included, you'll be able to play as lady
I'm not even going to try to pronounce that one. It's tough.
The lady, the
Dimitrescu or Dimitrescu or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take the L on that one for you. Yeah.
Thank you. But basically it's horde mode with different characters. So that looked pretty cool. I'm excited just because, honestly, I still haven't played Village. It's one of those that's on my list where eventually I was going to get it. But now that they're releasing the Gold Edition at the end of looks like to be the end of the year, it's going to have all the DLC included. It's going to have these new game modes. It's going to have the new third-person mode, which looked amazing. I think I'm a big fan of third-person games. I think I'm going to pick it up. I'm excited that they announced this. Yeah, and then have you played Village?
No, I never played Village, so I think it's a game I knew I was going to play at some point. I just never had this like sense of urgency around playing it, and so I feel good that I waited actually, because this looks pretty great. The third person mode is something that I was really excited by, and it's actually a bit of a dilemma where I don't know if I should get this on PC or if I should also look at the PSVR 2 version, because we talked about the PSVR 2 version in an episode or two ago, and I think I'm too scared to like. I think it would be an awesome game in VR, but like at the same time, I don't know if I would actually enjoy it. So I don't know. So like, I'm keeping my mind open to maybe getting into that system, or just getting the PC version and the third person mode. So I don't know. So I'm definitely getting one of them. I probably won't get both of them, so I still need to figure out which one I want to get.
Well, it's definitely, you'll probably shit your brains. But it's a scary game, especially me remembering playing Seven. That itself was a scary game. So I'm excited. Obviously, we got a couple months left before they release it. So, and we still don't know the details on the PSVR 2, the release on that, but most likely probably the end of the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, that
So,
no, that I think PSVR 2 is definitely going to be next year. So, if I'm craving, a Halloween experience, maybe I got to pull the trigger on the gold edition.
yeah, sounds like some good Halloween plans.
Yeah.
And then on the heels of Resident Evil news, they also showed off more Resident Evil 4 gameplay, which they had shown a little bit snippets of the gameplay from before, from one of the other showcases. I believe it was Summer Game Fest, but it wasn't too much, and you couldn't really tell the difference what it was from old Resident Evil original to the new one. With this one, they showed more cinematics, more Leon, President's daughter, environments. It definitely does look better. Obviously, with the game being released early next year, they still have a lot of time to work with it. So, can't wait to see more of that. Like I said, Resident Evil 4, one of my favorite Resident Evils, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people's Resident Evil. I'm excited to see the graphical improvements, and I'm also excited to see how they mix it up, just obviously with what they did with the remake of 2 and 3, and how they switched it up, and how well it plays, and with the updated mechanics and stuff like that. I'm excited to see that. And I'm also excited to see The Stranger and see what he's selling.
Yeah, I think they just haven't shown enough yet for me to be like, oh my god, this is amazing, and I must get it. I think it was more like a teaser in my mind. Like they didn't show that much more footage versus what was shown at Summer Game Fest. So I'll keep an eye on it. I think it's I'm sure it'll be great, but like I just didn't really see anything that like got me really excited about the title. They also announced next gen versions of was it Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3?
Yes, they announced
Yeah.
the upgrade for 2, 3, and 7.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 3 games. So I've owned Resident Evil 2 like for a very long time and just never played it. And then I'll need to check, but I think there's some upgrade even on like the PC versions. So I think that's something that might, as I'll get into in closing thoughts, I have a lot of games I'm playing now, but I think I've kind of tentatively slotted Resident Evil 2 as like a game that I would play, quickly after that.
Yeah, I recently played 2 and 3, the remakes, obviously. I think it was at the beginning of the year. I enjoyed both of them. I enjoyed 2 more just because it was longer and I felt like they did a lot more stuff. 3 was still good. The gameplay was good. The graphics were good. I just felt like it was too short. Not the same quality as 3. As 2, I'm sorry. Hopefully with Resident Evil 4 remake, remaster, whatever it is, hopefully they do it justice and they don't cut corners or make it a lesser game than what it originally was. So hopefully they knock it out of the park, which is
Yeah.
it's not gonna be too hard. Just don't fuck it up.
Yeah. I think that was the consensus where most people spoke very highly of Resident Evil 2, but less so on Resident Evil 3. So I probably I wasn't planning on playing 3, really just 2.
All right, and then the next thing that they talked about in the showcase was Exo Primal, which, if you don't know, it's basically a mech piloting game where you fight dinosaurs. In no way associated with Dino Crisis, which they've kind of mentioned all the time because that's what everybody thinks every time they see this thing. But you're basically get put in certain arenas and you're fighting waves and waves of dinosaurs. The game looks fun. It looks like a good multiplayer game, a good team game to play with your friends. They seem to be showing a lot of different game modes, their own version of like Capture the Zone, their own version of payload movement and stuff like that, team deathmatch. Obviously, you're going to be playing in a party against other parties, or you could just be in horde mode and it's your party versus all the dinosaurs. But it looks like a fun game, not necessarily, I would say, like right up there with Musket right away, but it does seem to have that feel of it's a good time waster to play with your friends and just if you're looking for something multiplayer wise. So I might pick this
Yep.
up down the road.
Yeah, it looks pretty crazy. The way I kind of thought about the game is it kind of looks in terms of like the characters and the way they move. It's like a little bit like kind of like Anthem, but it's basically like, it's also like Dead Rising, but replace zombies with dinosaurs. It's kind of like the formula of the game, which I think that sounds pretty cool. So yeah, I think maybe we're kind of the same, where I'm like cautiously optimistic that this could be cool. So I think it's a slam dunk, which I know you'll roll your eyes at, but this is a slam dunk Game Pass title where at some point it'll be on Game Pass, and it's perfect. It's perfect for that. But as we see more, maybe there's a reason to just buy it, at launch. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Now that's funny. I was also thinking this is probably going to be on Game Pass right away, but it's one of those games that could use the benefit of Game Pass in terms of getting more exposure out there, just like Guardians of the Galaxy did and other games. So, well, maybe we'll see it. You called it if it does come out. And then the next thing, also Capcom related, was that they did a 10-minute basically video on Dragon's Dogma celebrating the 10th anniversary. It was kind of funny because this was also done at the same time that they did the Final Fantasy showcase. So it was kind of weird that they had these two competing showcases, especially from these Japanese companies. Obviously, a lot of people would tune in more to the Final Fantasy, but Dragon's Dogma is one of those titles that has a very big following. Maybe not necessarily when the game released, but as more people discovered it down the line. I don't know why it wasn't as popular as it is now. Like right when it came out, maybe some other title had come out that people were distracted by or something like that. But
yeah, I think it wasn't a, because I think people who really got into like Dark Souls games were like looking for other types of games. Not that it's like exactly the same, but like I feel like there's certain similarities where I think people who are just looking for more of that type of combat experience and an RPG, just more people became aware of Dragon's Dogma as a thing, and I think there's something there. I don't know, that's just speculation, but I think that's why it kind of just accumulated an audience over time, as it's probably pretty correlated with how the Souls games also, grew over time, and now it's huge.
Yeah, and we talked about how we both played it, but not too much. I'll talk about it more in the closing thoughts, but I just re-downloaded it. I bought it on Steam. But basically, at the end of this little 10-minute showcase, they were talking about the development of the game, the ideas behind it, what the producers kind of what we're going for, and thanking the fans and all that. And then at the end of the showcase, they announced that Dragon's Dogma 2 is scheduled to it's in production. So it's scheduled to be released. They don't have a time frame, but they're working on it. They're doing it with the Resident Evil engine, so we know it's gonna look good. I know a lot of people got excited for that. The original one had a great pawn system, which basically was like you could have NPC characters that help you fight and all that stuff, just like how Final Fantasy has, where you could do the dungeons with NPCs. That one kind of Dragon's Dogma, the original, had the pawn system with the NPCs helping you out. That worked really well, which I think a lot of people liked a lot about the game. So with this one, definitely now with it be more in people's conscience, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to play part one and kind of look forward to part two. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'll check it out. I'll keep an eye on it for sure. I think I played like 3 hours of the first one a few years back, and it was cool. It just didn't like immediately click with me. Maybe at some point I'll give it another, give it another pass. And yeah, it's done by Itsuno, who's the guy who did the most recent Devil May Cry game, among a bunch of other Capcom titles. So I think he's coming off the heels of that being a really great game. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to it for sure.
Capcom also, brought the goods to the show. So good news from Square Enix and good news from Capcom. Definitely a lot of franchises that people have been clamoring for and also waiting for announcements. So super exciting for that. And that kind of does it for the news segment of the podcast. And now we're going to have some thoughts on not E3. So Nick and I wanted to basically kind of go over the last 2 weeks of showcases, not fully, but just kind of go over our thoughts for any announcements that they had, any thoughts on the publishers and developers, necessarily how well they did or anything that we might have missed. So I'm going to start off by saying, I thought it was kind of a bit quiet in terms of game announcements, any major blow your mind reveals. A lot of the stuff we kind of knew that was going to be announced during this time. Obviously, they showed more gameplays for things like Final Fantasy 16, Street Fighter 6, Final Fantasy Remake. They showed the video like we talked about. So I think it was a bit underwhelming in terms of surprises, but they definitely showed a lot of gameplay, which I enjoyed. Starting off with Sony, the state of play, the state of play that Sony did, I thought that was pretty good, even though they didn't reveal anything pretty big there. The Xbox Bethesda showcase, that in itself, I was kind of a bit lukewarm on it just because I don't feel like they showed too much. And the heavy hitter that they ended the presentation with, Starfield, didn't really blow my mind in terms of do I want this game? I'm still it's Skyrim in space. I might not want it. And then Square Enix with their showcase, I thought they did a great job. I thought they showed people what they wanted, which is Final Fantasy VII and more news on Part 2. And then Capcom itself as well. Capcom with Resident Evil, they definitely had a lot of Resident Evil news, which I'm a big fan of the series. So all hype for that. So yeah, I think these showcases for not E3, I think they did a good job in terms of getting a lot of information out there and gameplay and showing us what we can actually look forward to, at least for the next year or so. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar where there's a lot of games that we learned more about that I'm looking forward to. A lot of them independent games, so I think indies had a strong showing this year for sure. But yeah, we didn't learn. There wasn't any earth-shattering, new announcement that blew everyone away. Which I think maybe that's just becoming an increasingly unrealistic expectation. With I know that's a lot of us core gamers that kind of grew up with E3 and these other big events, and you kind of look forward to them, and you want to get surprised and blown away by something. I don't know. I'm sure that will continue to happen, but maybe not as much as it used to. Just given how long it takes to make games, and it's really hard to keep things secret forever, and so I think there might be a broader trend where game announcements kind of starts gravitating towards something that looks a little bit more like what kind of happens with movie announcements or something. So I don't know, maybe there's a broader trend happening there, but and I think maybe with COVID and production and stuff like that, maybe that's another reason there wasn't much to show. So yeah, no giant announcements. Basically, every game that I'm really looking forward to is it's a sequel of a game that I already knew was going to come out. I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth probably being the biggest one. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that's basically just a +1 to what you were saying. So overall, I'd rate it. It was good. Learned a lot about a lot of different titles, but no big juicy reveals that got me real fired up.
Well, then obviously, I think you and I have kind of the same idea that Sony's probably going to do something soon since they didn't really showcase anything big in these 2 weeks. So maybe something towards the end of the month or beginning of next month. And then the next big thing you would think is the Tokyo Game Show. So, still a couple months left in the year. Half the year is gone, so we can look forward to some more announcements towards the end. So hopefully we get some more reveals.
Yeah, I think both Sony and Xbox have a lot of first party studios that are, there's a lot of rumors around what they're working on, but I think there's still quite a number of announcements that could be made over the next 6 months or so. So it just seems like everyone chose to not reveal much during this kind of Summer Game Fest thing. So, but yeah, we'll see.
Well, I mean, it'll be definitely a better surprise once they do announce it. I know there's some rumors floating around about God of War actually releasing this year, so I'm pretty sure they didn't want to just throw it in there with everything that they had or whatever. But surprises are generally good, so hopefully we get some surprises soon.
There's I don't know if this would actually happen, but there's like a lot of chatter around the God of War game, so Ragnarok coming out on the release date that Starfield was supposed to come out on, just to be just to be a dick, I think. Yeah. So that'd be like, was it November 22nd?
No, November 11th, 11/11/22. That's
that's right. Yeah. Okay. So that'd be kind of funny, but yeah, I think we'll see a God of War, state of play in a month or two, assuming all goes well and that they feel good about the release date being, sometime at the end of the year, and then maybe there's got to be another Sony event. Maybe it's Tokyo Game Show, but maybe they do their own thing where they just kind of talk a little bit more about all these other games that their studios are working on.
Well, yeah, especially because we know Sony has a much bigger presence during Tokyo Game Show. Obviously, being a Japanese company, they have much more of a presence there. So, it's set up for them to surprise us, wow us, and show us some great things. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, they've said that they're planning on doing 10 to 15, live service games over the next few years. So I think we maybe know about like a few of them. So I think they got plenty of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, they had to start showing some work. All right, but that does it for the news segment and our thoughts on Naughty 3. Thanks for listening to us on that. And we're going to move right on into our closing thoughts. I have some little closing thoughts, and Nick has some big closing thoughts. For me, I just finished watching this show. It's called I Love That For You. It stars Vanessa Bayer. She's a comedian. She was on SNL for a while. Pretty funny. It's basically about this woman that used to have cancer when she was little. She tries to get a job at this home shopping network kind of knockoff, and doesn't get the job. And in a desperate attempt to get the job, she says that her cancer is back, so they kind of give her the job. So she's basically lying about having cancer to get the job. It's hilarious because it's so cringy. It's like a cringy show. I would recommend it. It's pretty funny. It's on Hulu if you have Hulu, and it's on Showtime. The season just ended. They have 8 episodes. She's great in it, Vanessa Bayer. It also stars Molly Shannon. She's pretty funny. And then Jennifer Lewis, who has been a mainstay on television shows and movies. I think she's also great in it. So definitely check that out if you have the opportunity. You won't regret it. It's cringy humor, which is, I like that shit.
And and I think you were talking about... I think we're just having like a random conversation about I Think You Should Leave, which is a Netflix show, and it's kind of the same category of humor where it's just it's like cringy as heck.
Yeah, and she's in one of those skits, so basically like that's why I started watching it, because I was like, oh, she's pretty good, and it's kind of like that skit but taken to the 10th level. So check
Cool.
that out if you have the chance. Next on my closing thoughts, I got the big news I was waiting for, guys and gals. Steam Deck, baby. I got the confirmation. I know Nick is a little bit jealous. You know, green is not a good color on you, Nick. Uh,
I know.
you know, because of jealousy. Green with
No, I
envy.
get it. I get it. Yeah,
Oh,
I get
okay.
it. Yeah.
All right. But yeah, I got my confirmation for the Steam Deck. It was funny because I was just thinking about it. I was like, damn, quarter two is almost ending, and I still haven't gotten confirmation. And then, like, 2 hours later, got confirmation. I was able to order it. So I should be getting my Steam Deck soon. I have my impressions. Obviously, I'm going to try and wait for Nick so we can do kind of like a big impression on it once we both have it. But I will try to do the unboxing depending on how much I can show. I might do it on one of the episodes of the podcast, or I'll just do a little video and put it up on our YouTube channel. So excited for that. Excited to play all my Steam games on the go, which the last couple of days I'm like, damn, I wish I was on my couch playing these Steam games. So
That's gonna be huge for you, right? Like, cause playing on the couch will definitely be cool, but just based on like how you travel for work and stuff like that, like, isn't that gonna be that's gonna be like a pretty big game changer for you, right?
oh yeah. I mean, I do have my my laptop for work, but it's my laptop. Like I don't feel as comfortable as on my PC, but I think with the Steam Deck, it'll definitely feel better.
Yeah.
But yeah, can't wait to get it. Definitely look out for those impressions soon. And then the last thing, like I said, I purchased Dragon's Dogma after hearing the news about the sequel being announced. Obviously, I played it a while ago when it was free on PlayStation Plus. You could download it. Didn't really get into it too much, but I've been a big fan of Monster Hunter and stuff like that. And it seems to have the same mechanics, so I decided to download it. It was only $5 on Steam. What a deal, you know? What can I say? I just got into it. I'm basically an hour or two into the game. Excited to play some more. I should definitely finish the games that I keep buying. So we'll see.
There's online co-op in Dragon's Dogma, right?
I don't know yet. I believe so, just because
I think
there's
so.
an online. There's an online.
Maybe I should
There's-
fire it
there's-
up and we can have another game that we both play at the same time, but never actually play together, just because that's.
I mean, we played Elden Ring together. Did we not play Elden Ring together? We played Elden Ring together.
Did we? We played Demon Souls together for a little bit.
Yeah, but Elden Ring, we did the first part together. Remember, you helped me out so much. Yeah. I mean, not as much because it was a massive game, and we ended up going our separate ways. But there's games we play together.
Okay.
I'll find out. I know they have the pawn system, and I know they have like an online portion. So I don't know if it's still available or how easy it is. But if it is, then we can do it. You know, I might want to play with you, especially because we're gonna be playing one of the games you're gonna be talking about soon. All right. So handing off the closing thoughts to you.
Yeah, I got a beefy update. A lot of content was consumed this week, which feels pretty good after a couple dry weeks. The Boys. I'm current on season 3 of The Boys. It's amazing. Like it's so good. It's quickly. I think I can safely say The Boys at a minimum like a top 10 like all-time TV series for me. Yeah, I think it's definitely a top 10. I don't know like how much I can say without spoiling it, but I would just encourage everyone to watch it. It is like exceedingly violent, very grotesque. So that I know that's not everyone's thing. My wife can't deal with watching gore, so this is just like a show I watch on my own.
I think it's well. So real quick to piggyback off of what you were talking about, normally if it's a show that's releasing weekly, I usually try to wait till it's all out there and consume it. But because you had been talking about it the whole week, I was like, fuck it, and I ended up watching it as well. So I haven't seen episode 5, I think. So that's the only one I haven't seen. It is gory, but it's not like gory to show gore. It's just gory for the funniness of it, I think, mostly. Or just like how ridiculous being a superhero.
Yeah, it's over the top. It's mostly kind of comedic gore, but there are, I think, certain things where it's like, okay, that's a lot to look at. But
Well, another thing, real quick, and this is one of my main problems with like superhero movies and shows, and it's why I love The Boys, because I feel like if there were superheroes around, like more of the shit that happens in The Boys would be happening than like more of the shit that happens in Marvel stuff. Like whole towns would be getting destroyed. That's why I thought like Men of Steel was like super accurate. Kansas got super fucked when Zod came to town. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's a refreshing kind of take on the whole superhero genre. There's definitely a lot of dark humor in it, which I'm a big dark humor fan. It's one of the few shows that actually I think gets better. Like a lot of times with television shows, is like they just kind of run out of gas, and the new seasons just aren't as good as prior seasons. Where I feel like this is, again, like one of the few shows that actually I think gets incrementally better. It's one of the few shows where I like literally every character. It's got a very broad, range of characters. They're all like great. Even some of my favorite shows, I get almost always annoyed or frustrated by like, a few of the characters, or even like the actors and actresses. But it's just not the case with this. So yeah, no, I'm loving it so far, and looking forward to the. And it just recently got renewed for another season, so they've already renewed it. So I think that's a kind of a positive signal that the Amazon Studios team has seen the whole thing and wants more of it. So they feel confident in it. So yeah, that's pretty much it on the TV side. Playing a lot of games, which feels good. So I've mentioned Ghost of Tsushima. That's been like a really nice surprise, where I owned the game for a long time and just never got around to playing it. Started playing it, having a great time with it. So I'll continue playing that. The new hotness this week was Neon White, which I think the game was announced some time ago, but like I wasn't aware of it until not E3, where in one of the many showcases there was a trailer for this game, and I'm like, oh, that looks cool. And then it features music.
Do you know why you weren't aware of it? Because it was announced during a Nintendo showcase, which you don't watch.
Really? Okay. Well, that makes complete sense. Then,
that's the funny. Ooh, I was holding that in because I was like, ooh, I'm gonna burn him with this one. But yeah, it was announced like one of the first showcases of the year, and they announced it. I think you didn't see the whole thing. It's what it was. That's why it was out of your mind. But I remember it from there.
I think I remember that showcase because I think I remember starting to watch it, and I was like, I can't deal with this. Like, and then I just. But either way, the short story is, and not E3, I became aware of this game called Neon White, and it looked cool. It had music from one of my favorite artists, Machine Girl. So it became an insta buy for me, just based on Machine Girl being involved with the game. And then it just so happens that the game's like unbelievable. Like everyone's gushing about this game. Like the press and the whole internet basically is just like, this game's incredible. And I totally agree. I've been playing. It came out on Thursday, and I've been playing it like pretty much every free hour I've had over the last couple of days. I've been playing this game. It's kind of hard to describe. It just feels like it's such a game. Like it's just a great game. Like it's like high score. You're like, it's like got a speed running kind of element to it, where you're like trying to do like high scores. It's like the mechanics are like pretty simple, but can be a bit like kind of difficult to master to get high scores. But yeah, basically you're just like trying to get through these levels as quickly as possible. There's like a card system, so you're picking up cards. The card will either allow you to like shoot a gun, So like a shotgun or a rifle or a pistol or whatever. So you can either shoot a gun if you're holding a card, or you can use like an alt fire mode. So the card will enable you to like, sprint fast, sprint forward real fast, or, stomp something, or double jump. So you have all these like movement abilities. And then if you use a movement ability, the card like disappears from your deck. So it's pretty simple, but like when you're trying to like kill every enemy in a level and get through the level as fast as possible, it's got this like nice kind of difficult to master element to it, and the music's unbelievable. Like it just matches the game so well. The art style just looks super clean. The way that the story kind of unfolds, there's a bit of like a Persona kind of relationship building mechanic that's in there. So in between levels, you're like, opening up dialogue and side missions and stuff like that. So it's great, man. Like I think it's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised if you see this pop up on like, I don't know if it's like game of the year, but like, I think it's definitely going to be like in a lot of awards kind of conversations. So, yeah, I've been loving it. It's only like $20. So it's, I thought it was going to be super short, but I've been playing it a lot, and I feel like I'm not even halfway there yet. So I feel like it's good value. So I'll stop gushing about it now.
I've seen some videos, and it definitely does look super fun and super fast, and just like there's a lot going on. But I can see it's that type of game that once you get the mechanics of it and how it works and all that, like it just opens up your mind more, and you're able to see everything that you're supposed to do, kind of thing. But it looks great, and the music, like I said, sounds great.
Yeah, basically like you'll start a level and you just gotta like, you'll learn all like the patterns and ways of combining cards. And so yeah, it's almost, there's like a kind of like a puzzle element, right, where you're just trying to figure out the right sequence of abilities. And I don't know, it's just a game. Like it was so refreshing for me to come from like Ni no Kuni Cross Worlds, which is like arguably like not a game, and just like checking boxes and stuff like that, and then going into like Neon White, which is just like a gamer's game.
Where you're actually doing stuff.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, I hope it does well. It's awesome. And it validates my like when I hear an artist and I'm like, this artist should do something in games. And then, Machine Girl is one of those artists where I'm a fan of, which I don't know if I can actually recommend anyone to actually listen to Machine Girl, because it's kind of like this absolutely insane, like it's just like hard, like you should like listen to one of Machine Girl's albums and you'll be like, what is this, and how could anyone listen to this? But I love that type of music. But yeah, like the soundtrack he did is pretty awesome. That's all I got. Neon White.
I was gonna say, don't you have other stuff?
Yeah, I got some other stuff. Sorry, I'm just really excited about that game. I did download Shredder's Revenge, so that's the new Ninja Turtles game, which is kind of like an homage to the 90s arcade beat 'em up. I downloaded it through Game Pass. I just played the first level just to get like a feel for it. And I wanted to save, the rest of the game for playing it online with friends. So I think that's going to become probably over the next several weeks, that'll be like a game night staple. You can play with up to 6 players online. And yeah, so again, I just played level 1 just to get like a feel for it. It's great. Pretty much everything about it is how you remember the arcade game, but I think it's been like, I think the combat's definitely more nuanced and looks great. There's more characters, so yeah, I think that'll be a good one.
Yeah, it looks great.
This is the game you alluded to as something that we might actually play online together.
Yeah. I've seen some videos, especially because they do like a lot of homages to like different fighting games like Street Fighter moves and stuff like that. So it looks fun and it looks great. I hope they definitely do more updates for like old franchises, classic Super Nintendo, Sega franchises, and bring them up to the future in this style. Like I'm all for it. Bring back some more Marvel vs. Capcom. Bring some X-Men games. I'm all for that.
Yeah, I think people. This is another game that that just came out, and people are kind of gushing about it. They really like it, and there's already a lot of chatter around like, okay, what's the next game the studio should do, and they got to do like an X-Men version, and then I think isn't on Disney Plus, aren't they doing like a X-Men 90s? Yeah. 90s,
yeah. They're doing the continuation of like the 90s series in the same art style and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
So like, I mean, that's they gotta do something. I don't know if they'll be able to deliver in time, but I think that would be a good next game for sure. Yeah. I think that's mainly it on the game stuff, and then my only other update is I finally got my Galactic purple PS5, I guess, covers is what they're called. So I'm now fully purple.
Plates.
I have the plates, yeah. So that might sound kind of dumb, but I was pretty excited to have I've had the purple controller for a while. Now I have the purple PS5, so my PlayStation setup's fully purple. And I just hope that PSVR 2 also allows me to get a purple one, but we'll see. The OCD in me is going to get really upset if I have to have a white, VR headset.
One of my internal nicknames for you internally in my head is the Purple Man. Not to be confused.
Purple Man?
Yeah, the Purple Man from Jessica Jones.
David Tennant? Yeah.
David Tennant, one of the greatest Marvel supervillains ever. So
he's up there, man. He's up there with... Yeah. He's a top 5 villain, I think, for sure.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah, call me Purple Man. I like that.
Well, you did get that sweet ass jacket in Japan, so he has a purple jacket that he got in Japan. That's the story. And
that's true.
Well, all right. So that does it for episode 24 of Pressing Buttons. We thank you for joining us. Don't forget to submit your gaming achievements to us, whether it's by email, pressingbuttonsgg@gmail.com, or on Discord, which you can access by going to pressingbuttons.gg, our website. We want to hear what gaming achievements you have. We want you guys to share with us so we can bring them up on next week's episode, which we'll be doing a little special segment on our gaming achievements. Hopefully, you guys are impressed. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode. I'm Hugo. Bye.
I'm Nick. Later.